on Unsolved Mysteries.
Dr. Michael Swango's career began with great promise, only to be derailed by allegations of poisoning and murder. What happened to Michael Swango? Did an angel of mercy choose to become an angel of death? Some 30 years have passed since a young woman from Texas and a Jordanian airman fell in love, only to be torn apart by the uncertainties of war. Now a heartbroken father needs your help to find the son he has never met. Little Logan Carroll was born with no heartbeat and no vital signs. Doctors could do nothing to save him. But as Logan's family gathered to grieve, something truly extraordinary happened. Something that can only be called a miracle. Join me. Perhaps you hold the key. Perhaps you may be able to solve one of tonight's unsolved mysteries. February 7th, 1984, Columbus, Ohio. An intern at the State University Hospital checked on a 69-year-old woman recovering from routine back surgery. No one knows why Dr. Michael Swango was in the room, perhaps just to say hello. When he left, Rena Cooper seemed to be doing fine.
Let's check her rhythm.
I don't know, he was over the IV and then she just started.
Yeah, they sound like they're getting breath sounds and all.
As she was being stabilized, Rena struggled to tell the doctors what happened.
I'll let you write a note to us, okay?
She wrote, "The doctor put something in my IV."
That was Dr. Swango. When I was over there, I was taking some notes.
What was Dr. Swango doing?
While this is going on, we know that another nurse decided to walk down the hall to calm the other patients since there was a great deal of commotion. And 4 rooms down within minutes sees Dr. Swango exiting another room with a very funny grin on his face, and those are her words, not mine. The nurse goes into that room and finds a large hypodermic needle with the plunger down sitting on the sink, which is not very unusual. You wouldn't expect that in a hospital. Hypodermics aren't left lying around.
Oh, Mike, good. Glad you're here. I need to talk to you for a second.
3 different doctors confronted Michael Swango about what had happened in Rena Cooper's room. Swango allegedly told 3 different stories. At one point, he claimed he had never even been in the room.
She just got out of surgery. It's common for patients just out of surgery to be delusional.
Most of us tend to hold doctors to a higher standard, and perhaps that's fair. After all, we are sometimes compelled to trust them implicitly, depending on their knowledge and expertise to save our lives. Did Michael Swango betray that trust for his own sadistic pleasure? If you ask Swango, he'd probably tell you he was a victim of bad luck and circumstance. But unfortunately, the question cannot be posed. No one can find Michael Swango. Michael Swango came to Ohio as a recent graduate of the medical school at Southern Illinois University. He projected charm and confidence despite a lackluster med school record.
Normal. Okay, great.
Michael Swango became more and more withdrawn as he proceeded through his college classes and eventually got into medical school. And though academically he did very well, the more the classes became advanced and the more he needed to do hands-on patient work, the more he pulled away from that to the point where he was held back a year.
Take a look at one of these appraisals and you can see what I'm talking about.
Swango's poor performance continued through the first 6 months of his internship.
Dr. Swango, the end result is, unless you have a significant improvement, you will not be allowed to take the next step.
Are you saying you may not recommend me for residency? I've been working my entire life to be a doctor.
Swango's lifelong goal was now jeopardized. It could mean he would never become a full-fledged doctor. It was shortly after Swango was put on probation that Rena Cooper suffered her mysterious seizure. It was one of a series of puzzling events at the hospital that spring. Rena Cooper survived, but at least 5 other patients died.
The 5 mysterious respiratory arrests in the last month in the neurosurgery wing has caused quite an alarm among all of us. I'm aware of that. I've decided to see if there's some sort of pattern to this situation, and I've developed a chart.
The upshot of it is that whenever these incidents occurred, Swango is always there. A black cloud seems to follow Michael Swango. Wherever Swango was, there was an unexplained respiratory arrest. And it didn't happen once or twice, it happened 5, 6, 7 times.
Though some evidence appeared to point to Swango, hospital officials chose not to call the police. They decided to watch him closely and quietly wait out the last months of his internship.
I think the kid was great. I think I was better, but I think the kid was great.
Chicken!
Food, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Swango did not appear disturbed by the hospital's decision to let him go or the whispered allegations against him. In fact, on several occasions during the last months of his internship, he treated staff members to what he called extra spicy chicken.
That's tangy.
You weren't kidding. That really is spicy.
We know that from interviews with 3 doctors, they became violently ill within hours of eating the spicy chicken. So ill, in fact, that they needed treatment for their eyes from ruptured blood vessels from the vomiting.
Michael Swango left OSU Hospital in June of 1984 without being formally investigated. No charges have ever been filed. 1 month later, Swango had a new job, not as a doctor, but as a paramedic. On September 14th, he brought donuts for the whole crew.
I grabbed a donut, started eating the donut. But I noticed there was something different about the donut. It didn't spring back up like most donuts do. You all right in there?
45 minutes later, Brent and several others became very ill. They wanted to test the leftover donuts, but they had disappeared. Only an empty box remained.
No one had any suspicions of Mike at all at that time. They figured that that was food poisoning. Since the donuts were gone and they couldn't analyze it, they just more or less thought that that's what it was and let it go by at that.
Well, the next night I worked with Mike at a football game, a local football game. At halftime, he offered to buy me a soda. I started sipping the soda at halftime, and about the start of the third quarter, I became deathly sick.
Yet another mysterious illness made Swango's co-workers increasingly suspicious. They also couldn't help noticing Swango's grisly fascination with accidents and death.
Brent?
The gorier the better.
Is she breathing?
He would describe his ultimate calls as a paramedic. And that would be a busload of children hitting head-on with a tanker truck and igniting. And as he's approaching the scene, he would see charred bodies out of the windows of the buses, bodies that are up against the barbed wire fence, caught in the barbed wire fences. I mean, this is, to me, I thought was really strange. Just, to want to see death.
No, just stay calm, man.
Finally, the paramedics decided to fake a call to get Swango out of the building. They wanted him away long enough to search his locker. In Michael Swango's gym bag, his co-workers found 2 bottles of ant poison. One full, one empty.
Poison. Michael Swango?
Yes.
I am Detective Reynolds. These are Officers DeWitt and Rogers. We have a warrant. Search the premises. Paul, why don't you start in the living room here?
In Swango's apartment, police discovered more incriminating evidence. Dozens of bottles of poisons, books on poisons, recipe cards for making poisons, and an assortment of syringes. One syringe was full of ant poison. The evidence was overwhelming. Swango was convicted of 6 counts of aggravated battery and sentenced to 5 years in prison. After serving half his sentence, he was given time off for good behavior. Amazingly, Swango again found work in the healthcare field. He was apparently able to convince employers that he had been the victim of a miscarriage of justice. In Newport News, Virginia, he turned up at a medical vocational school. There, 3 of his colleagues reportedly fell ill. Swango then talked his way into the University of South Dakota Hospital. Again, he was shadowed by his past and dismissed. Finally, in August of 1993, Swango resurfaced at Stony Brook University in New York. He was assigned to a Veterans Administration hospital on Long Island. While there, he changed his name to Michael Kirk.
He was accepted into the Stony Brook program, and they never bothered to check him with a central registry for medical residents, which apparently had a file that was an inch thick on him. There were 180 people who applied for 12 slots, and he managed to get one of those 12 slots despite these clouds of questionable activity that followed him in at least 4 states.
On September 29, 1993, Michael Swango's path crossed that of Elsie and Baron Harris. Baron Harris was a 60-year-old cabinet maker from Long Island.
Hi, Mr. Harris.
He had a fever of 104 degrees and a slight case of pneumonia.
I'm going home tomorrow.
Well, we'll see if we can accommodate you.
My first impressions of Dr. Kirk, he seemed very professional. He seemed to be very concerned. He seemed to know what he was doing. A very pleasant man.
Okay, if you say so.
Okay.
All right.
Yes, he will.
Okay, thank you. See you in the morning.
Yes.
Swango told Elsie to go home. There was nothing more she could do.
I'll see you in the morning, sweetheart.
Don't you forget to come back and get me.
No, you'll be all right.
I love you.
Love you too.
Elsie Harris claims that sometime during the night, Dr. Michael Swango, alias Michael Kirk, gave her husband a sedative. By the next morning, Baron had been moved to intensive care. He had lapsed into a coma.
Doesn't make any sense to me. He was coughing, he had a little fever. I don't get it, I don't understand.
Mrs. Harris, sometimes people have allergic reactions to certain drugs. Now, that may have happened in your husband's case.
But why a coma?
I just hope it wasn't anything that we did.
He had a very smirky attitude, like a half-cocked smile on his face, like a little kid with his hand in the cookie jars. This is what he reminded me of, even though he had a terrific bedside manner. There was just something sneaky about him.
Once the story hit the wires and reporters started converging on the Northport VA hospital and on his dorm room, he very hastily packed up and disappeared.
Before Michael Swango vanished, Elsie Harris says he told her that Baron would never come out of his coma. Swango apparently knew what he was talking about. Baron Harris died on November 9th, 1993. Wherever Michael Swango is today, authorities believe that he is most likely working in the medical field.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Can I see your driver's license, please, sir?
Yeah, sure.
June 7th, 1994, Richland Hills, Georgia, just south of Savannah.
Here you go. Thank you.
The license identified the stranded motorist as Moses Lall, but it was a lie. Moses Lall was an importer and breeder of exotic birds who owned a ranch 400 miles away in Florida. This man's real name was Harigo Bin, and he worked for Moses Lall. In fact, he was on the run because of Moses Lall.
That is correct.
Who was Moses Lall? Ask 10 people and you're likely to get 10 different answers. On the surface, Lall seemed to be a reputable businessman. But sources say he also had a secret life that involved international smuggling and alleged ties to organized crime. Now Moses Lall is missing. Police suspect that his secret life led him to a violent end and put his aunt, an innocent bystander, in mortal jeopardy. 3 days before Hari Gobin was seen in Georgia, a feed company delivery man made a routine stop at Moses Lall's ranch near West Palm Beach, Florida. When no one came to meet him at the gate, Darrell's crew hopped the fence. Darrell had never before found the ranch deserted. Hundreds of exotic birds had been left unattended, everything from yellow-headed Amazon parrots to rare, brilliantly colored macaws. Total value, up to $700,000. Darrell had expected to find one of 4 people, either Moses Lall and his aunt Lila Biratan, or the ranch hands Hari Gobin and Roland Felix Iyum.
Lila. Lila.
It wasn't right, nobody being around, and the birds were too noisy. You know birds are noisy, but when they're hungry for a couple of days, they're real noisy. So I knew something was up, and then I just decided I'd better leave the feed in case. Maybe they did go out for the day, but nobody ever did there. There was always somebody there. So then I just climbed back over the gate, threw the feed down, and left.
The next day, Darrell would return to find the feed still there and the birds even louder. The authorities were notified, but a bureaucratic snafu delayed any investigation for 10 days. This is actual video footage of what Palm Beach County Sheriff's deputies found when they arrived.
It was worse than you can imagine. The smell was really, really bad, and the sight was even worse than that, to see all those beautiful birds laying dead in the bottom of the cages, literally hundreds of them. Some cages had up to 30 and 40 exotic birds dead in the bottom of the cages.
The birds that had survived were in desperate condition. Bird expert Howard Voren was among those working to revive them.
We started force feeding those that were 2 weeks to eat, injecting them with fluids in order to combat the dehydration they suffered, and of course filling all the cages with food and water if there were birds left alive in them. It was tough, but it was worthwhile. I think a very small percentage of the birds died after that.
Hopefully we can save this one.
While animal control experts took charge of the birds, sheriff's deputies began trying to understand the puzzling disappearance of the caretakers.
3 alive in this cage.
Moses Lall and Lila Biratan came from a family of bird importers based in Guyana, South America. In 1993, federal restrictions on importing wild birds prompted them to concentrate instead on breeding birds. That was Lila's job.
She was the caregiver. She was the bird lady. She was the one that looked after all their needs, drove them to the hospital when they needed hospitalization or care, and she was the one that was the professional bird worry person.
Lila was very quiet, very dedicated to the birds. You could tell from going into the house the amount of care that this woman took. She fed them, she weaned them, she took care of them when they were in the incubator. Basically, she took care of the entire thing.
Moses generally handled the business end. He delegated most of the daily chores to Hari Gobin, also from Guyana. Hari had worked for Moses and Lila since they started the ranch in 1992. The other missing ranch hand, Roland Felix Iyum, was from Africa. He was a brother of one of Moses Lall's business contacts.
I'm making some good money from these pancake tortoises from Africa coming into New York.
Around the time the ranch was abandoned, Moses was working with Iyum on a plan to import reptiles from Africa. Moses had apparently hit a cash crunch and decided to diversify. Rumor has it that to finance the scheme, Moses borrowed money from shady underworld figures. 2 days after sheriff's deputies discovered the dying birds, they tracked Roland Felix Iyum to New York City.
Sir, I'm investigating Moses and Lila's disappearance. Would you be willing to go to a New York City police detective and give a statement to them?
Iyum had a solid alibi. He was able to prove he had been in New York since before Moses and Lila disappeared. Then Iyum told Detective Westcott a bizarre story, told to him by his co-worker, Hari Gobin.
During our conversation on the phone, he told me a story that he had been contacted by Harry, sometime on June the 4th or June the 5th, he wasn't exactly sure, and that Harry had told him that two men in a white van came and took Moses and Lila and some birds away at gunpoint.
Could Harry's story be true? Had Lila and Moses been kidnapped? If so, what was the motive?
It may not have started out to be an abduction. It may have started out as a collection, if those stories are true. It could have been revenge for some of the other dealings, business dealings that he's reportedly been involved in that weren't exactly on the up and up. The problem is we don't know. We're hearing stories about all these things and none of them are substantiated.
What they needed for substantiation was Harry Gobin's eyewitness account. But Gobin had disappeared after his run-in with the police in Georgia. They assumed Gobin was Moses Lall and sent him on his way.
My speculation is that the story that he told to Roland Felix Ayum scared him so bad that he knew that he had to get out of town somehow. I believe that Harry used Moses' driver's license and took his van so he could get away and have some type of collateral.
Get down, man. I told that thing. Yo, pick up the birds. She has nothing to do with it. Let her go.
What happened to Moses Lall and Lila Biratan?
I told that, get to your money.
Did Moses Lall's questionable business dealings come back to haunt him? Or was someone after the rare, expensive birds?
If someone had in fact killed them for birds, the birds that were missing were not the right birds. Birds that were worth $2,000 in adjoining cages were left behind. If they met with foul play because people wanted to take the birds, they took the wrong birds.
And the question remains who and why, because it seemed that Moses had several people that he was involved with in things that were either legal, illegal, or borderline. And Lila is not explained because nobody seems to have anything bad to say about her whatsoever. Lila doesn't seem to have any involvement with anyone that is in any way unusual. She seemed to be very happy in her solitude. The birds were her world. She didn't much care for anything outside of that world.
My gut feeling is she's dead. To me, that's the only way Lila would leave her birds, is if she was dead or so afraid for her life. That's the only way she would leave that place.
Police believe that Harry Gobin is crucial to solving this case. If he indeed witnessed a kidnapping, he undoubtedly knows vital details that could help the police. In a moment, the tragic death of an infant is followed by a miraculous rebirth. Perhaps the only time we welcome a visit to the hospital is for the birth of a child. But even this special moment can be marred by sudden disaster. Just ask an Indiana couple named Todd and Tammy Carroll. Their second child, Megan, was stillborn after an 8-month pregnancy. Naturally, Megan was very much on their minds when the Carrolls arrived at the hospital for the birth of their third child, a son named Logan. They had no idea how close they would come to another tragedy.
Hi, Dr. O'Connor.
Hi, Tammy.
Oh, this is my sister, Ruthie. She's going to be with us today.
Hi, Ruthie. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Well, Tammy, everything looks great.
After we lost Megan, I was real anxious. It was real stressful. I was worried, is anything going to be wrong with this baby? Is, everything going to be all right? And after the ultrasound and everything looked good on it, and then we ran some other tests that looked fine, that eased my mind. I really tried to look at it as a separate incident.
Okay, here comes the next one.
Tammy's obstetrician, Dr. Diana Oken, induced labor at around 8:45 a.m. The contractions grew stronger and more frequent through the day. The baby's vital signs were consistently stable and positive.
Okay, not long of a rest.
4:30 p.m.
Here comes the next one.
Birth was imminent. Tammy's sister Ruthie stationed herself near the fetal heartbeat monitor. The red numbers showed a normal rate, 120 to 140 beats per minute.
Another deep breath and push. Push.
Well, while Tammy was pushing, trying to pushed the baby out, I noticed that the heart monitor would drop way down, and that really kind of alarmed me, and they had her take some slow breaths, and it recovered back up.
One more push. Deep breath and push.
4:42 p.m. At the moment Logan Carroll was born, his heart rate plunged to 0, a fragile life in mortal danger.
I knew something was wrong as soon as he delivered because he didn't have any tone. When I felt his umbilical cord, I didn't feel any pulse at all. And that's when we started CPR.
Why isn't he crying? Why isn't he crying?
Relax, it's all right.
What's wrong with me, man?
Quiet.
Call a code.
Dr. Stanley.
For 15 minutes, the emergency team tried desperately to revive Logan. At 4:57, Dr. Mary Valentine, the Carroll's pediatrician, joined the emergency team.
What's the history here? An eventful pregnancy. We lost the heart rate immediately before delivery.
Logan still had no vital signs, no heartbeat, no breathing.
No heart rate, flatline. Stop compression. No heart rate, flatline. Continue resuscitation.
We continued doing CPR throughout that time, again with no response, for approximately another 15 minutes after my arrival. And I began inserting a line into his umbilical cord to try to administer some drugs to help revive him.
They had put EKG monitor on him, and the tracing was not showing any electrical activity, so I knew it didn't look good at all.
Well, I was still hoping, but they was there so long. I don't know how many, 5 or 6 doctors there working on him at one time, trying to get him revived, and it still ain't doing nothing.
I just couldn't lose this baby. I just could not believe this could happen again.
At some point, you always have to just say, we've done what we can do. This baby is not going to respond. And we finally called it and pronounced him dead at that time.
I'm sorry.
No! No!
I don't think there's any lower feeling than holding your dead child. It's supposed to be such a time of joy and renewed life giving birth, that when they hand you this child that's no longer living, I just can't begin to tell you how low that feeling is. And sitting there holding him and looking in his face, I just wanted him to be alive so bad.
Logan James Carroll was officially pronounced dead at 5:15 p.m. He was 33 minutes old. In accordance with hospital policy, the Carrolls were allowed time to say their goodbyes. Swaddled in a blanket, Logan was cradled by each grieving family member. In the midst of their anguish, Tammy and Todd agreed to an autopsy, hoping for some explanation.
Tammy, Todd, I don't mean to sound crass or anything, but we usually take pictures of the baby for the family.
You never know how people are going to take that when you come in and say, I'd like to take pictures of you and the baby. But they were very receptive because they said they didn't get enough pictures the last time that this had happened to them.
These photos were taken that afternoon, stark portraits meant to commemorate the end of a young life. Instead, they would mark the beginning of a miracle.
What was that? What was what? He just made a noise. That was just a reflex action, Tammy.
Are you sure?
I'm sorry.
While I was holding Logan, he made the gasping sound. And it was a very eerie feeling, but we had been told that that was normal.
It is called agonal gasping, and it can happen because of the medication. It can go on for quite a while. So I wanted to let them know, because every time he would do that, he did it a couple times for Tammy, they would just, their eyes would light up. and then they would be really let down when he wouldn't do it again.
As the minutes went by, I was slowly becoming unaware of what even was going on in the room. I just wanted to completely detach myself and float away somewhere and be somewhere where it wasn't hurting so bad. I wanted to get away from the pain.
Some 40 minutes had passed since Logan was pronounced dead. The time for his autopsy was close at hand. However, as Tammy's stepmother held the infant, she was beginning to think that an autopsy would not be such a good idea.
His color looks so good. Ruthie, he's getting warmer. Feel. Feel it. Go get the nurse.
Just look. I'll be right back. What's going on, Ruthie? There's no reason for this to have happened. Dr. O'Con, I understand about agonal breathing, but is there such a thing as an agonal heart rate?
Susan.
He has a heart rate. Please, come and take a look at him.
I thought she was nuts.
You know, if you keep this up, you're gonna give me a heart attack.
I think I was afraid that she was reacting in a way that was gonna upset the family even more because, I mean, the baby was dead.
This baby's alive. Let's get him to the nursery.
It was total unbelief, and I wanted to touch him. I had an uncontrollable urge. I needed to touch him. And I don't know how soon it was, but it was real soon. They came and took my IV out, and I had monitors on me, and I had a blood pressure cuff. I mean, they were taking wires and just pulling them off of me and put me in a wheelchair and wheeled me into the nursery. And I reached in and I held his arm. And I was talking to him, telling him that he had to hang in there and that I loved him and that I was proud of him for being so strong. I was still in a different type of shock because it was so unbelievable.
Unbelievable indeed. At least 6 physicians and 8 registered nurses, all certain that Logan Carroll had died. High-tech meters and monitors had confirmed that judgment.
I figured God's hand had to have been in it, but that's not in the medical literature to account for the miraculous as an explanation. But it's amazing. I mean, we're all trained to do something as doctors, and here we did nothing, and he came back.
Word spread through the hospital very quickly. You know, people from the lab, people from other nursing units came up just to look at him, to say that they could have seen this miracle baby. It was incredible. The emergency room doctor came up and was totally amazed. It was something. It was something.
Logan's metamorphosis, from the lifeless infant in this photo to the squirming marble videotaped just 1 day later, was simply astonishing. He would remain in the hospital for the next 5 weeks. His vital signs never faltered. Though Logan remains healthy, doctors fear he may have sustained some degree of permanent neurological damage during the time he had no oxygen. Only time will tell.
My feelings for him will stay the same. Whether he has an IQ of 180 or 50, he's here, he's alive. I've held the alternative. And holding him, no matter how he's going to develop in the future, we try to live for today, and we'll keep him.
It is impossible for most of us to fully appreciate the Carroll family's experience. Today, Logan's extraordinary revival continues to baffle any expert who studies the case. However, those who were in the delivery room that day, when despair turned to wonder, are certain that they witnessed nothing less than a modern-day miracle. Next, a poignant tale of love denied and a son lost. about to meet a man named Fawzi Mahmood. Almost 30 years ago, a single moment changed his life forever. It was the spring of 1967 in San Antonio, Texas. The event, nothing less than love at first sight. Fawzi Mahmood was a trainee in the Jordanian Air Force. He was in the United States to learn American flying techniques. He was not interested in anything else, or so he thought.
Fawzi, how are you doing? Do you remember Barbara? Hi. And Zoila. Hi. Hello.
Her name was Zoila Maldonado. She was just 20 years old. In Fawzi's eyes, she was dazzling.
What?
I mean, she looked so beautiful to me, and she got this green dress, and just she was a knockout, and I was knocked out. I fell in love with her. I mean, I fell madly in love with her.
This is beautiful.
It is pretty. I like it.
Like you. Very beautiful.
For both Fawzi and Zoila, this was their first taste of true love. But for Fawzi, it was also much more.
Actually, Zoila was not only the first love, it was the first woman I ever talked to in my life. Because we came from a very, very strict family and strict people and a strict government, you know. But she was my first everything.
Oh, Mom, he's waiting. He's not coming.
Zoila's parents were very conservative, and she was their only child. They did not like the idea of Zoila dating anyone. The fact that Fawzi was a foreigner who spoke little English did not help.
He's a nice boy, Mom. Well, what does it matter, Papa?
I guess you go now.
Even though her parents were conservative and strict, we managed to go out almost daily. We went dancing, we went to the lake, we went to the mountains, we went everywhere together.
6 months later, Zoila and Fawzi found themselves at a turning point.
Fawzi, I think I'm pregnant.
To Zoila's great relief, Fawzi was ecstatic.
You are?
Yes. I want to marry you.
But the marriage would never take place. Several months earlier, the Six-Day War had erupted between Jordan and Israel. Tension between the two countries remained high. In late November 1967, Fawzi was ordered home.
I will come back, I promise.
Fawzi,
We talked and we promised and we vowed that we will always be together, no matter what happens.
When I come back.
I can't raise baby by myself. I can't.
You and baby come to Jordan.
I just felt so helpless.
I come back very soon.
Come on, kids, we need to get going.
I felt why love should be like that. I mean, we're having so good time together, we're happy. Why the happiness have to go?
Sometimes I miss you so much, I think I'll go crazy, but then I receive your letters and I feel better.
Zoila and Fawzi continued their love affair by letter. The Jordanian Air Force refused to release Fawzi, so Zoila planned to go to Jordan.
Please take care of yourself and stay safe. I will close now. I'm tired, but the baby's fine. It still kicks all the time. If he's a boy, he'll probably be a football player.
In late June 1968, Zoila gave birth to a healthy baby boy. She named him Amadeo Marcelo.
I mean, I was thrilled. I was very happy. I was jumping, but I also was very unpleased because of the fact that I cannot be there to see him and be with her and be of help to her. I was very frustrated.
Even on duty, Fawzi's thoughts were with Zoila and his infant son. He could not wait to bring his new family to Jordan. Zoila kept writing to Fawzi, but the tone of her letters soon changed.
Fawzi, I'm writing to say I'm sorry to hear of your problem. I want us together more than ever. I will always believe my love is strong. But the war, I refuse to take that chance with Marcelo's life.
Zoila made a difficult decision. She needed a father for her baby. She wrote Fawzi that she had married someone else. Fawzi could not bring himself to write to Zoila again, but he could never forget his son. In 1970, Fawzi returned to the United States. He claims he tried to call Zoila by phone, but her mother hung up on him, then had the number changed. She apparently blamed Fawzi for her daughter's out-of-wedlock child and was understandably upset to hear from him again. In desperation, Fawzi went to Zoila's house.
Hello. I'd like to see Zoila, please.
Nobody wants to talk to you.
My son. I'd like to see my son.
You ruined my daughter's life.
No, I love your daughter.
You know what? You are 3 years too late. If you don't get out of here, I'm gonna call the police.
No, please, wait. I just want to see my son. Please. Wait!
Fawzi had no choice. He could not risk being arrested and possibly deported. That moment was as close as Fawzi Mahmoud has ever gotten to meeting his son. Today, Fawzi lives in Enid, Oklahoma with his wife, Robin. They have a young son, and Fawzi has 3 grown children from a previous marriage. But thoughts of his firstborn still haunt him.
There is one thing missing all the time. I would like to see my son. I would like to see how he looks like. I want to hug him. I want to tell him I love him. I mean, there's a lot of things we did not do together. Maybe we can do it now, even at this age.
Join me again next week. Perhaps you may be able to help solve a mystery.